Oh, okay. Welcome to the Domus Search Leadership Podcast. The Domus Search Leadership Podcast is part of Domus Search. We're an executive search organization working with European biotech, pharma, and medical technology organizations and leaders and founders, which brings me to my guest today, Dr. Zohra Faiz, who is the CEO founder of GIMC, which stands for Global International Medical Center, based in Utrecht, the Netherlands. I'm really delighted to have you here, Zohra. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Matt, for the introduction, but also for the invitation.
My pleasure. Now, we've been speaking recently, and we had a good catch up as well before the recording. We've got a lot of things in common in terms of our interests. We obviously have a different path in life and what we're doing, but I'm really interested to share your story. And actually, I think what I found out about you is there's probably too much that we can talk about in this recording, but I'll try and keep it focused, because for the last 12 months or few years, you've been establishing your business, establishing the concept. So I'm really interested. Perhaps I could get your introduction on GIMC. What are your goals? What are you up to now? Where you are in the stage of your business? You know, I'll leave the floor open to you, Zohra.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Yeah, in the last 12 months, I've been very busy with the company to establish the concept of Global International Medical Center, which is a student-specific medical degree, PhD degree, and also trainingship of specializations in 2 years. Besides, we will also focus on patient-specific diagnostics and treatments on long term.
Wonderful. And you've been, for those who will connect with you, I'm sure after this podcast, you've worked in Tokyo, you've worked in Australia, you've landed in the Netherlands as well. You've got a really international perspective as well in many different areas of holistic medicine, oncology, orthopedics. How did you come around setting up your business? You know, what was it? Just a moment, a light bulb moment, as you say, or was it something that you'd always thought about? I'm really interested in that kind of entrepreneur journey.
Yeah. It has been in my mind since I was 20 years old. But it was, for me, I was planning to be a CEO of Global International Medical Center when I was 50 years and not 37 years old. So, and the idea was, to starting now was in the time of COVID, because it was a very tough time also in the Netherlands, outside the Netherlands, of course, also. So we needed a new kind of way of thinking and leadership, like dialectical thinking, to solve the problems of COVID. So that's the main reason why I started 12 months ago. Yes.
Gotcha. So brought the timeline forward from 50 to down to 37. Great.
Yeah.
So you obviously been a university lecturer as well, and we talked briefly about that before, about that impact on the student side. So could you tell us where exactly Global International Medical Center is focused? And obviously you mentioned before as well that the patient is the ultimate customer. But how have you been establishing the business and getting the brand in front of the people that you need to get it in front of, given that we've been mostly in lockdown and communicating digitally like this as well? How's it been? And what's the focus now on getting the message out there?
Yeah, at the startup, it was very important to have very solid foundation of the Global Medical Center, because if we have a solid foundation, we can build on strongly forward, and that's why it starts with education. If we educate doctors very specifically and very effectively, on long term, they will be healthy, and also they will be focused. Which will have, the outcome, thinking dialectically, communicating well with patients, and trying to add value to the society, which will have, improved improvement in the costs at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And how difficult or challenging is it to influence the education system as well? So obviously you've got a unique angle because you've gone through medicine as well, which is a big topic in itself, but you've also been an educator as well through the systems. How difficult has it been to navigate that and influence change within those systems?
Yeah, with my background, I have experience at different departments like orthopedics, surgery, radiation oncology, also pathology, and at the end, before 12 months ago, I started up with getting certificate of a teacher. Then I've learned how can we effectively and efficiently learn students. So that made me thinking about a new kind of a world educational system.
Absolutely. So what are the, oh yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. And what have been the key things that you've seen, or maybe the important things that you've seen that need change? Or was there something that you saw that you thought maybe that could be done better? Yeah, how did you go about that process as well of figuring out, I know what I want to do, but where do I start?
Yeah, exactly. It was like having a lot of conversations. It's very important to communicate with different parties. You know, it's like with students as well, to listen, their thoughts, their experiences that they will have in their first years, but also during their trainingship, having conversations with different parties like lecturers, but also professors, financial department as well. So it's very important to have different conversations with different parties at different level, because then we can understand their situation, and then we can have a solution which will be good for every party. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's so interesting, isn't it, that it all comes down to communicate. Well, not everything, but being a good communicator is so important as well. So so the work that you're doing with the Global International Medical Centre, what area of training or learning is it targeted at? Is it a specific medical education path, or is it whereabouts does it fit in within the education system?
Yeah, I think it's very important to mention that currently the situation is that we have robots, we have artificial intelligence, and there's internet and Google. So we have to educate medical doctors in a kind of way that they know how to improve artificial intelligence, how they can improve the work system of robots. So it's like a different way of education, because so before it was like, okay, you have to know the name of this organ and then this organ, and then you have to know the diseases. But now artificial intelligence will tell you the diagnosis, or artificial intelligence will give you the options for treatment. And as a doctor, you have to understand the profile of your patient very well, and to understand the choice of a robot, and then you can go on with the treatment. If the robot has some suggestions and he cannot choose, and then you say yes, you have to have the knowledge that can improve the robots or artificial intelligence.
That's really interesting. And you probably saw, I've been trying to connect you in with the podcast with Dr. Ali Tinazli as well, with Lifespin, who are building a digital profile using AI on the platform to almost give a complete picture of the human. So that's really interesting, because I noticed that you've done some work with AI and augmented reality, and we spoke briefly earlier on about, is it the metaverse? If I'm saying it right, I haven't looked into it too much, but the kind of AI AR interaction between physician and patient as well. So is that a specific interest for you, and is that where you've gone really deep into the education?
Yeah, I think that's the most important part of the education, because we can use artificial intelligence, but virtual reality, to shorten the education, but also to improve the brain, working brain of students, but also of patients on long term. So I think that's the most important. And the project will be medic first. So we're still working on the project, how to improve, virtual reality, VR, with. So
I imagine, and I don't know this, but I imagine that the use of data, big data, feeding into AI decision-making machines, the robots, I imagine that's quite a big part. I mean, I'm getting on there. I'm 40 now. I've been out of education for a long time. You know, I was only just kind of on a PC when I was doing my A-levels. So is that a big part of the education system now that you see?
There are a lot of researchers have done that. They have used, virtual reality to see how it can improve the education. So in surgery, it could, improve the time of surgery, but also the pathway of doing a procedure. Yeah. And understanding of the anatomy, connections between different organs as well, which will fasten the education, but it's more about to understand the relationship between different organs and a disease, and how we can improve the pathological situation.
Yeah, and I guess the mind can only think about so many things at the same time. As powerful as the brain is, it maybe can't compete with a machine that's moving at the speed of light. It's really fascinating because there's so many impacts on medical device technology as well through the robots. There's a Swiss organization that I'm speaking to at the moment who are involved in ophthalmic surgery and a specific medical device that will be conducting the surgery as well. So it's an amazing field. And I'm really interested as well, as I mentioned earlier on, absolutely fanatical about sport, well-being, the use of kind of elite sporting methodologies and mindsets and practice. And I know you're very interested and big into yoga and the holistic practice. How important has this been for you in your life? And I imagine you probably see a lot of unhealthy people, even in the medical industry. And I'm shocked if I see an unhealthy GP or a physician. I'm slightly concerned that they're not taking better care. And, how important has that been for you? And what do you think people could do better to improve their own health?
I think it's also in during COVID, but before that there was a lot of burnouts in staff, in medical staff, but also medical students had a lot of burnouts. So I think to understand the whole holistic medical part is to integrate yoga in the educational system of medical students, because they will understand the concept of yoga, or the concept of how the body works, by doing it by themselves. It worked for me because for me, I started practicing yoga 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
So it's not too late for me now. If I start now, I know I'm good at stretching, but I haven't really worked on my yoga in a while, so it's not too late for me.
No, of course not. I think everybody can start, even when people are around their 70s, because it will help a lot. It will, learn how to think more clearly, make decisions. So I think.
Do you think that medical practitioners and people in medicine are spending so much time either learning or helping others that they maybe neglect themselves a little bit too often?
Yeah, it has been before like that. Before COVID, it has been like that, because there were the medical staff were making hours, more than 60 hours a day, and also in the evening they were preparing the outpatient clinic at their home. So I think the situation of COVID has only emphasized that we have to take care of ourselves as a medical, very good to improve also the medical situation of our patients, because we are connected to them. If we healthy, we can advise them, be like a teacher or guidance to them as well.
Often the times I know when I touch words, stay pretty healthy, but when I do have to visit the GP for any reason, I kind of want to feel reassured that they have walked the path that I would like to walk, can at least demonstrate best practice. And before I move on as well to, because there's something I want to ask you about your business now as well. You're in Holland, of the Netherlands, and there's a guy, I don't know how famous he is in his own country, but Wim Hof. Have you heard of the Iceman? Wim Hof, who he's in the ice and in the lakes, and he does the breathing as well. Do you know this guy?
I've heard about him, but I don't know him personally. So okay. I've heard,
yeah, because he was a big influence on me. I saw his interview a few years ago with a UK Brian Rose, actually, on London Real. It's an incredible podcast, and Wim. In fact, I've listened to a few, but it's quite a tragic story. His wife was going through a lot of trouble with depression as well, and she really sadly committed suicide. And Wim had children, and he was going through all sorts of turmoil. And one day he saw the lake was frozen. He put a hole in the lake and he jumped in. And he said, "When I'm in the lake, I forget about everything." And that was the start of his journey with the cold. And now he says the cold is his teacher. And I've recently got an ice bath in my garden. It's a slightly cheaper version, but it's so I practice this on a daily basis, and I found it to be incredible for my health. But I just wondered if in Holland, if he was as famous as he is internationally in his own country.
Probably yes, but I've been so busy with other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're busy being a company founder. So it's really interesting. So you've gone down the path of being an entrepreneur and a founder, which is a great risk. And I think great things come out of taking risk and challenge and great reward. What's the next phase for GIMC now? And what are the partnerships and maybe collaborations that are going to be important for you as you go into this next phase of your really exciting business?
Yeah, I think the most important part is to implement the concept of student-specific medical degree in 2 years, and PhD and specialization, and try to fasten the procedure of patient-specific treatments and diagnostics, because it will save a lot of money and time. And
and is that so? Who's saving money? Who's going to be saving the money? Is it the health system? Is it insurers? Is it the patients themselves? Or is it everybody?
Everybody.
Okay.
I think everybody. Yeah.
Okay. And so is this so getting the education in the system will help it in the long term as well? Are you doing any business to business partnerships yet, or is it too early stage for that?
I'm starting up slowly. Because I think it's very important for the company to have a very good relationship, and also to make understandable that our product is like patient-centered and patient-specific. So patients are center of our business. So and we want to have this value. And also the privacy of patients and students are very important for the company. So for every connection with every other business partner, we want to make sure that these two parts, privacy and personal center. Yeah.
Like shared values. Yeah. Gotcha. So will your products and educate, is it just going to be focused on the Netherlands initially, or is it going to be truly global and international, like the name says? Or is it best to start small? Because I was speaking with Claude Kaplan last week, who's the CEO of Kuhn Agro Systems, and he said when he came into the role of CEO, day one, it's international, just because of the internet. really. You know, we need to have an international mindset and approach. Will that be the same for you, or is it best to start smaller first?
I think it's very important to be open-minded also here. And why? Because there are a lot of expats who are working in Utrecht or around in Utrecht. They have, you know, they speak Dutch, but some of them speak English. And it's very important to understand their meaning of diseases in their own language and their own culture, because disease is different in every culture and in every language. So that's very important also in the education. So I think every student that will apply, that's the most important part, that they should understand that disease is for every patient with different background, different culture is can mean something else. So also in that part, I think, I cannot only say, no, it's only for Utrecht. It's like Global International Medical Center, and it's the global international.
Absolutely. It's everywhere. Because it's very interesting. You've had a lot more experience than I have. I lived overseas. I lived in the UAE for some time. I've traveled a fair bit through sport as well. But being, I wouldn't say well-read, but I'm interested in other cultures as well. I'm aware that there is there are big cultural differences in how we treat disease, and you know how they do it in India is very different to how they do it in the UK. Even though we might all it might all be called a hospital and it might look like a hospital, but there's a different ethos and a different approach, and I find that fascinating. How, you know, we've all got the same body, we're all genetically fairly similar. It's interesting to find the different, even like Tokyo, you know, where you spent time as well. I imagine it's a little bit more holistic. I get this feeling that it's a bit more herbal remedies and a different approach to a more philosophical approach to medicine. Is that the case, or am I way off here? And you can tell me if I am.
I think it depends on the part, I think, and it depends on the hospital. That's the most important, because and also it depends on the department, because in Tokyo was my experience that there were also very innovative, like with robots, but also with the way of minimal invasive surgeries as well. With chemo and radiotherapy, like proton therapy, but also a new way of chemotherapy. So it's you know, it's like, it's very important how they do it in Japan, is combining, you know, the modern medicine with ancient
traditional medicine. Absolutely. No, it's very interesting.
So that makes it very beautiful.
It isn't it quite a nice synergy as well. So what, without giving away all your secrets, you know, what are some of the technologies that you're seeing that are really disrupting and changing markets now, and maybe where do you see it going as well? What are the kind of technologies that are most impacting healthcare? Because I'm looking now at places like, strangely, Meta or Facebook, Amazon, Google. You know, they're making huge investments in healthcare as well. Are you seeing the same things? And is there anything else that you're seeing that might be quite interesting to hear from your side of the fence?
It's amazing to see that different companies like Facebook, but also Google, are investing. And I think it's very important, because they will help also the industry, medical industry as well. And secondly, I think it's very important also to cooperate with them. And stay in connection, because they have the sources, they have the knowledge, because they have the people, the employees that are working very hard to make the best products and to improve also Facebook, but also Google. So I think for medical staff, it's very important to stay connected with those companies and cooperate with them.
Because I imagine a traditional doctor, for example, may look at internet organizations as a threat. You know, maybe if the ego gets in the way, they may think they don't belong here. But actually, it's a very different generation now, the kind of information and digital and social age has changed things quite drastically and speeding things up, I imagine.
And making doctors healthier, because by having the best products, it means we don't have time, we will have more time to stay healthy, like a doctor, as a doctor, and to think clearly and make the best choices for our patients. So I think their work is very important, of course.
It feels like me that you should be running some health retreats, Zohra, as well. It feels like people could be coming to see you on a yoga retreat somewhere on a hot island to just get back to the center and recover. So while being educated, maybe the holistic thing, just maybe an idea there for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We will implement that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've obviously been through the system of education. You've come out the other side. You've created a business to solve a problem in getting new information to help speed up diagnostics or diagnosis as well, and improve the whole healthcare system. What do you think are some of the important lessons that you've learned? Or maybe if you could give your 20-year-old Zohra a call and say, hey, you should really focus on this, or don't worry too much about that, or take more chances. What would you tell your younger self or the younger generations coming through this healthcare system?
I think it's very important to know themselves, because it starts there, to know their purpose. And for me, it was like during my travels to Australia and Japan, I was, learning to know myself better as a person, to know my purpose, and also the values that I appreciate, and also the goals that I want to achieve on long term. So I think for younger generation, it's important to know their purpose. That's the most important.
The purpose, yeah. And how did you find your purpose? I don't know if it's Japanese, but there's something called ikigai. Do you know? Is it ikigai? Did you do that?
Yes, I did that.
Okay, is that the only way? Is that the system? Because I'm going to go and buy a book now and do it. If that's the secret sauce, then I'll go and do it. Is that how you found your purpose and alignment and values?
And I think for me, it worked very well, because it helped me to find my alignment, and also to see what kind of skills I have and how can I use my skills or improve my skills as well. And I think that's the most important. Yeah, it will make a life easier. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And how long did it take you? Because I know to the people that I know who are interested in personal development and improving themselves on a daily basis, did it take the duration of your travel to figure everything out? Because you made some quite big decisions in your life at a young age. How long did it take you? Because and the reason I ask this question is that I'm interested, firstly, but secondly, it's been quite a long process to me to figure out some of the things that are really important to me as well. But what was it like for you?
I think traveling will help us to come out of our comfort zone. So, and then we will learn more about the system outside of our system, but also we will gain skills from other systems as well. And coming back again in my own system, or the comfort zone, it will help us to think dialectically. So think in a situation or that you have to make fast choices, or there's a crisis, you will think fastly, or you think in a very creative way.
Yeah.
So that's very important. Yeah.
Really interesting. And do you have you're obviously a founder and a leader now of your own business. Do you still have mentors and people that you go to for advice?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Of course, when you have a company, I think the company will only survive when it's connected to the society, and when it's in harmony with the society, and also, of course, with the customers, with students, with everybody that is connected with the company. Yeah. So I'm I'm going, every 3 months back to the person, to students, and then ask again, how can we improve our product, and what are your thoughts, and asking different customers, different students, different companies.
Wonderful. And as we start to wrap things up now on the podcast, are you attending any forums or webinars or conferences in the coming months? I'm just thinking about the people that are listening now, where they can hear you and see you and learn more about what you're doing. What are your plans?
The plans. So the first conference that will come is international conference in Tokyo, Japan. It will be like a poster conference regarding the virtual reality and using it for patients to fasten the procedure of surgery. That's one of the projects. So that's one. And in December, I'm trying to go to a conference in Italy, in Rome, in Italy.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, regarding
that's a nice excuse, to get to beautiful.
Yeah, so that are the two
major conferences. Great. And will people be able to follow those online? Do you have the name of the conferences that you could share, or
yeah, of course,
you can send me the links and I'll post them with the
I will send you the links. Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So it's been really, really brilliant to have you on the podcast and learn more about what you're doing and the impact that you're making. That's really exciting. I'll make sure that we share all the links as we follow as well. Are you currently updating a website? Are you doing something new online?
Yeah, we're making a website for Global International Medical Center, but we're working hard regarding the privacy, because we don't want any cyber attack on Global International Medical Center. So
yeah, it's quite a big topic at the moment, isn't it? Quite a big European topic. I was speaking with Dr. Sam Shah, who made me aware of some of the bigger problems with medical data and personal information. And so good fit. That makes complete sense. Well, I've really, really enjoyed it. I feel like we could, there's so many other topics that I wanted to talk about today, but just in the essence of keeping it really impactful and insightful, I'll sign off today. Dr. Zohra Faiz, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast, and I can't wait to follow your journey and hear more about your business.
Thank you, Matt, for the invitation. It was a pleasure to meet you here and to talk to you today.
Brilliant. Great to see you.